Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Maps Are Dead. I'm your host, Mike D. I am really excited to have a good friend of mine, Dana Ackland, on the call today. Hello, Dana. Coming all the way from where in New Zealand today?
I am in Mount Maunganui, New Zealand. So
Say that
a
again because I haven't got that
beach,
again. Where is it?
Mount Maunganui, New Zealand. So it's like the vacation
Nice.
spot of New Zealand, and we live here now.
Awesome. Dana has been a professional coach for more than 12 years. Dana uses Clifton Strengths, but she also uses a number of other tools and frameworks. She is a wife and a mother, a good friend. She is the founder of Generating Success, also an associate coach for me and the team at the Dauphinee Group. Dana, we go back almost 20 years,
Yeah.
almost, not quite, almost 17 years. Yes. And so Dana's well versed in strengths, but this is a podcast where we talk about the moments when you had to navigate your life and no one else could tell you what to do. Like there was no map for it. Hence the name Maps Are Dead. And for someone made a comment on a previous video, Mike, make sure you tell us why those words are on the wall behind me. So we've written up Dana's original top 5 Clifton Strengths themes. So you may, if you have any of those, you have an Activator, Developer, Communication, Positivity, and Woo. If you have any of these, you may really enjoy today's conversation because we're going to dive in asking Dana about how she became a coach. And also, Dana, I'd love for us to talk about things that you see in 12 years of watching clients navigate things. So we'll kind of dive into that, your story, their story. But I really would like to know, as a wife and a mom and a woman in a mental performance coaching industry, and you look back at your story, what is a linchpin that puts you here? Because 10, 15 years ago, people weren't going, oh, I'm a coach. What
No.
got you? Think of a moment that you had to navigate when no one else could say, oh, yeah, Dana, do this, this, and this, and you're going to become this. How did you get where you are right now?
There was a linchpin moment, but it's funny when you look back and you see all the things that got you to that linchpin. I think that's the fascinating part of my story is so there's two ones of how did I become a professional coach, which is such a dumb word. The reason when me and Mike reconnected, the first thing we said to each other was, I hate the word coach. And he
I
goes,
know, me
I
too.
hate
I
the
always
word
hated the word
coach.
coach. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was funny because we both connected on like, we can't think of a better word, but we felt so weird saying it.
Yeah.
But I learned strengths in 2001. I worked at a college and the dean just did the strengths assessment with our team and it changed my life, gave me language for what I was doing my whole life. So I used it and it made sense to me, the theory forever. Um, but the linchpin moment was coming to New Zealand. I was in my previous life a pastor. I worked at churches and they don't do that here. Like, unless you're the head person, that's what you get paid to do. And I was newly married in a new family. I married someone from New Zealand. Um, and my whole life turned upside down. And then we found out I was pregnant. And it was a little bit of a surprise. So all of a sudden I thought, wait, I don't know how to make money in this country. And so I just went to work. But I can remember going back to these themes, going, okay, I like people. I need to see progress. What am I going to do? I can't find a job that matches. So what I did was I just did jobs and was like, okay, I'll collect data about people. 'Cause someone in my young life gave me advice when I was like 19. I was trying to decide if I did a job, and this friend's mom said, hey, anytime you do something, just realize you're going to be learning about people, and that's going to help you for the rest of your life. Because in most jobs, you're going to have to work with people. So I kind of took that approach of like, okay, I'll just learn to understand people when I work at a restaurant, when worked at, I worked as an admin, which is a huge joke if any of you know me well, because I stink at admin. I was admin at a care company for old people. And um, I worked in the hospital as when my husband was in medical school. We moved a lot when my little boy was really little. And every time I just thought, I didn't know this language, but what would a coach do if I could leave people a little bit better than I found them? I would learn about them, connect to them, and I would speak into them. But the linchpin, so coming here was like I had to reorient, and it wasn't pretty. Like that I've tied it up in a bow. It wasn't pretty. I went to counseling twice. Tall poppy syndrome is a thing here, so my positivity was a disaster. And then someone came to me and said, "Can I pay you to sit with me and talk about my strengths and help me figure out my life?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" That person is now my
Yeah.
CFO. So I
Wow.
think it was someone saw what I was doing, but I kept being me. And then I did it. And then from there, I've never advertised. It's just been word of mouth or connecting with good people like yourself that align because
Just
not all coaches are
yeah.
the same.
But
And
and
so,
so, are you aware of being confused in those moments?
oh,
Because you know what I'm saying, like because
yes.
it's a linchpin moment when you're like, I have to choose and no one else can help me, right? No one else can make sense of it. Like obviously, like you said, you have therapy and all these other things going on there. Are you aware of confusion? Do you have a in that going back then, not now, but going back
Yeah.
then, when you think through your strengths? Because I hear which ones stood out to you. I hear activator and this willingness to just to try things,
Yeah.
but in that moment of no one else can tell you, you can't find a job, what do you feel like you leaned into? And do you know why it was just ready?
Do you mean like which strip particular
Yeah.
or what did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
I
any of them in
think,
particular?
yeah, definitely activator. I'll try anything. It doesn't matter because I figure I'll work it out or I'll go, it'll lead me to the next thing, right? Is what I
Yeah.
think. But I think it was probably either developer positivity or developer woo. Like I knew if I could just work with people and get a little bit better at whatever this job is, I would be okay. So I was utterly confused and cried a lot, but I knew if I could find my steadiness with people. So that's why I think, but Activator was definitely, I had no fear of it, but I think it was positivity because if I could just figure out how to get paid and encourage people, I knew I would feel happy even though this wasn't a career.
Hmm. Yeah. Because it wasn't necessarily a career. But you'd feel better.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
knew I needed to at least feel better because I was so utterly confused and scared and tired and all
Yeah.
those things and had no help. Like this was free. I mean, iPhones had just came out, so I didn't have a friend support group. I was building friendships here and feeling really unknown. So that was
Yeah.
another piece, the communication. I was really lonely, very lonely
And do
and
you
and
find that,
confused.
I mean, just to bring that up with the phones, do you find now that, that virtual connection is something that's really important for your support system now? Is that something you lean into?
Yes, and it takes a lot of work, but even I've moved back to the city that I first came to. So I lived in the city before I met my husband. This is where I met him, and I've full circled back here. We now live here. So I had friends pre my husband and pre my marriage. I have those friends, but we're all such busy moms, working moms, that we still connect over digital. Like one of my friends said to me this week over Marco Polo, she was like, "Do we even live in the same city?" So I had
It's
to
most
learn how
easy.
to do it far away,
Hmm.
but also I needed connection. So I figured out how to do it, yeah, digitally. But that is a huge thing for me.
How often when you face moments that require you to navigate by yourself, how often when you face moments that require you to navigate by yourself, is it the situation that's confusing, or it is the do you find that it's more confusing to navigate moments? Let me say it this way: do you find it's more confusing to navigate moments of a certain flavor, or is it when I'm in a certain state, things get hard to navigate? Is there like a flavor to things that are navigating, or is it a flavor of, you know what, when I'm in a certain state, navigation gets hard?
Yeah, when I'm in a certain state, navigation gets hard because I'm
Yeah.
emotionally unregulated. And I think not having friends, I mean, I had good people along the way. Like one of my
Hmm.
cities, Wellington, I had a workmate that like was my anchor in that 5 years that I was there. But when I love that I had to learn how to be okay,
Hmm.
not like when I was in that state, right? I couldn't woo anyone over to make me feel better. I couldn't encourage enough. I couldn't do all these things that I normally did. And in fact, my strengths, my husband is like, "Stop doing that coaching stuff on me. Just be my wife." And I'm like, "What?" you have this great resource and you don't want to use me. And weirdly, your spouse doesn't want to be coached.
Shocking,
Who
like be
knew,
my,
right?
don't be my coach, be my wife. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's quality advice.
But yeah, when I felt untethered because of all the things that I knew, it was a double-edged sword. I knew what I was good at and I couldn't
Mhm.
do it here, or I couldn't get people to see that I was good at it. So then I was like, who am I? So it
Yeah,
came down to identity of going, oh, these strengths actually tell me who I am. But then I wanted everyone else to see it when I had to just be okay with, oh, this is just who I am. And a linchpin moment was talking to you in
yeah.
2020. And you were like, yeah, you're really good at
COVID.
this. Why don't, yeah. And we
Yeah.
chatted and we both aligned on the way we showed up for people and we became an encouragement. And I said to you, you got to teach people how to do this because what you do is amazing. Like we work well. Yeah. And
Yeah, that's kind of how we started.
yeah.
What's interesting to me is that when it comes to because most of your themes end up falling into influencing and relating. For those of you following along at home, Clifton Strengths themes fall into four domains: executing, influencing, relating, and strategic thinking. Dana, your dominant themes are influencing and relating themes. One thing I like to say a lot of times is people who are dominant in one or both of those areas, their leadership and navigation will never be healthier than they are. And
Yes.
so and so a lot of times it's not even oh, it's confusing or it's hard or difficult. It's these strike me as I find, because I'm similar to you in this way, we have similar themes and spreads.
Yeah.
I find that actually step one of any navigation is a gut check of how internally healthy am I right now before I even ask any questions. Does that
Yeah.
resonate with you?
Oh my gosh. I actually said to someone today, if you would have, people that knew me in my 20s would be shocked that in my 40s, I'm helping people manage themselves because I couldn't manage myself in my 20s
Mm-hmm.
or my 30s and a little bit of my 40s. And
Sure.
that is absolutely true. Like, and that's why I fight so hard to do the work because I can't, I can only take someone as far as I go. It really
Mm-hmm.
resonates with me. If I'm not healthy, I can't lead anyone. And
Yeah.
in fact, I'll be destructive. And I have been in my past. And future, like, I'm not perfect.
I mean, as a coach, influencing themes and relational themes are very intuitive. They're highly intuitive, which is why internal health impacts their ability to have impact.
Ah, yeah.
You also, though, are not only you do not only coach people who are different than you, highly
Totally.
executing, detail oriented, deep thinkers. You married someone with some of the most critical thinking themes. You are married to a doctor whose one of his dominant themes is analytical, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How And so, in a world where you and I function intuitively, and so we need to be healthy and make intuition, and we really trust our guts. We read moments and trust our guts, especially with communication, trying to get understanding. Analytical as a theme is often asking, what's the sources? Where's the history? Where's the details and the data? And you are married to someone like that.
Yeah.
What's the
Who's
biggest
dominant?
learning of navigating that? Because there's no roadmap for that, right? After the love is the warm
No.
fuzzies are right off, and you're married and your kids, and you're 16 years into this, how do you navigate someone who literally is listening from a different filter of, okay, my wife is speaking, what if this is true? Or your husband's asking questions and your brain's going, this is not personal, even though he's asking me very direct, pointed questions with his deep thinking brain. How does a person navigate that?
Badly. I always say on paper we should not have made it. That's for sure. But he has analytical, but he also has deliberative restorative, which is
It's like the
deliberative
triple
is
whammy.
yeah, the think through the different like ways to do it, don't move, risk assessment, and restorative is here's all the problems. That's real fun.
Yeah.
Real fun. So first it was I took everything personal and I would not be the woman, the coach, the wife, the friend I am if it wasn't for my husband, even though I want to punch him in the throat. nine times out of 10, because he didn't let me stay one in victim mode of like, well, my feelings are hurt, nah, 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 or in like pretend thoughts. Because I'm highly intuitive, I'm like, this is what's happening. And he's like, you don't know that's happening. I'm like, yes, I do. And it's funny because now as a coach, I say to people on a regular basis, multiple times a day, is that actually true? Is that happening, or is that what you're telling yourself? So I think I had to learn about, actually, it was a conversation with you. You asked me how he listened one day. It wasn't a marriage counseling. We were just in coaching, and I said something about, I told Sam something and I was annoyed. And you said, does he not respond? Does he not listen? Or does he not respond? Is he silent? I said, yes. And so I just stopped telling him things after work. He wants to chat after work all the time. And you said, yeah, no, he's listening. I was like, I'm sorry, what? He's listening? You said, if he's not talking, he's listening to you. So that reframe of, this is how he's showing up, but this is what's true, right? And we had to get really good at asking for what each other needed. Because I would say things legitimately, when he was in medical school, I would say something and he'd be like, "What?" And he's like, "Where did you get that?" That's a common phrase in our house. Where'd that come from? Where'd you get it? And I have to be like, Instagram. And then one day I was adamant, and then I realized I saw it on Grey's Anatomy. I thought he was going to lose his ever loving mind. He was like, I am physically in medical school right now. I can remember the room I was in. I was like, no, it's this. And I was trying to tell my husband in medical school with analytical something about medicine. But I was so intuitively sure because the story on Grace made sense to me. And I was like, sorry, I did apologize. We got really good at fighting and apologizing.
Yeah.
But it's tough.
What you said, but that brings up an interesting point that I think you and I talk about a lot with our team about when it comes to coaching. And that is Clifton Strengths can help you understand not only how people communicate, but how they listen. And the things that we listen differently with, where like thinkers actually listen. But when you're listening, there's different things that show up. What is listening? If I'm engaging you with relational influencing themes, what does listening sound like when you're
Oh,
listening?
well, just that I interrupt. But but it's people interrupt, like our like girl group chat or any of my girlfriends. It's like do, 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 do. We're back and forth.
Yeah.
We're listening. We're nodding. We're in it. If it's sad, like a sad emotion, we're like our faces are doing it. We're asking questions. We're like, gosh, what was that like? Are you okay? And that's what I did to him. Turns out he didn't think I was listening to him because I was interrupting. And another key thing, but I think it's what you're saying, understanding. You said to me, oh, don't forget about strategic thinkers. And I was like, what? You said when they talk, it's a monologue, not a dialogue. So if he's coming to you, telling you something, he has thought through it. He's not asking to converse with you about it. He wants to tell you what he's
Yes.
thought through. And because he has competition, he's pretty proud of it and deliberative. And if I'm like, oh, whatever, and I move on, I've just shut him down, though he won't react the way I react. When he's shut
Yeah.
down, he's not emoting to tell me. When
Yeah.
he barely hurts my feelings, the whole house knows, right? So we have inside and outside emotions. So not that he doesn't have to do work as well, but understanding even how we listen to each other. It's real
Right.
hard to not talk when he calls me after work and be like, well, what did this patient say? What did the nurse say? What, oh my gosh, did that what the doctor said to you? And
Yeah.
he's like, he'll stop talking. And I'm like, dang it.
Yeah. Because when it comes to influencing themes a lot, especially those with communication and activator, which you and I share those too, we will often express as an with. But I always say this. Yeah, when thinkers communicate with you, it's not an invitation to participate, right?
No.
Whereas for us, the sign that I heard you, and this is one part communication, one part ADD, the sign that I heard you is I will tell you a matching story or interrupt you to tell you your story was great.
Yes. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I feel so loved by Mike D, right?
Because
Because it's,
matching story.
And we all become Italians, influencing
Yep.
things. When they
Oh
talk
yeah.
to people, they're like in your
Yeah.
face, you
Yeah.
know?
It's
I mean,
very
I'm
it's very
Italian,
passionate
but
about that. I mean, God, for me, I've been in this podcast. I think I've recorded like 25 of these episodes, and the number one complaint about my interviewing style is the 14 compounded questions that come out as one question.
oh my
Because
gosh,
the
my husband
activate
and me have this fight all the time. He's like, you asked me four questions. I'm like, yeah,
in a
so
statement.
answer them. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a
I have
text
to
or a statement. Yeah.
I have to fight in my head to go, okay, Mike, ask one thing at a time. And like I'm barely better than I was, but it's that place. And so navigating that for you, there's no manual for that. Like
No.
what? I mean, I have my own theories. I'm not married. I'm not partnered up. I fight with my own head, which is its own battle in itself. When I think about you guys together, can I just to react to this? Gallup had a book called The Power of Two that came out years ago. I believe Rod Wagner was one of the authors of it. And they studied high performing teams and the 6 factors and characteristics. One of the key characteristics, or I think there was a comment in that book about the characteristics, it wasn't one of the keys, was motivation could be different in these partnerships, but the mission couldn't be. So, meaning what kept you holding on to that was very key. But the other thing is that partnership success had nothing to do with compatibility. It had everything to do with respect. And so this idea of you could be completely different as long as you're both holding on to the exact same thing and respected that this person I'm in a real partnership with brings something I could never, ever bring. When I hear you talk about your marriage in the years that I've known you, not to make your marriage sound like a business partnership, but it sounds that way
Some
in
days
some
it
ways.
is. Yeah.
Does that resonate with you and how you guys navigate?
Yeah. Well, two things stand out. I was on a walk up the mount. If you live in this area, you know the beauty of that. And my friend Rochelle said, yeah, how do you guys work? And I said, we align on the important things, on money, the way we vacation, which I guess is money, and the way we do people. Like we like being generous. We show up. Now, he will declaratively say he hates people, which is a joke because he doesn't, but he thinks he does. He's Larry David. If you've seen Larry David, that is my husband. I, everybody is my friend, right? He's like, it's not your friend, it's the grocery store clerk. I'm like, she's my friend. I see her all the time. What do you mean? But I think we align on the big things. So, kids, money, relational stuff. So the mission thing. But the other thing is, my husband said to me once, you have contempt for me. And I was like, I didn't even know what that word meant. I legit was like, I still kind of don't know what that word means, if I'm honest. Like, I can't make my brain figure it out. But essentially, it's respect. And I think, not to be nerdy, but I really do love the strengths assessment. And so it makes so much sense to me. So I was like, okay, if I can understand the different things he brings, and time helps, right? I noticed his decisions while he took 7,000 years to make them, and we didn't know about him until he decided. He made often better decisions than me, but I kept us moving, And so I think that respect and then not slipping into contempt because we were different became really important. And one of the ways I dealt with it was, I mean, I threw a little kid knife from my kid's little play kitchen one time at him because I didn't know what else to do. I was like, here you go. You are dumb and I don't like you right now. So I think
Expressing
yeah,
yourself freely is clearly important for
yeah,
you when it comes to navigating
yeah,
marriage.
yeah. But I think too, the way I show up, like I understand, like, oh, I feel misunderstood by him. He's not saying I'm hearing X.
Mhm.
What's the truth? So, a game changing moment when I was teetering between contempt and disrespect was I said to him, hey, can you help me? The story in my head right now is you would rather do X than hang out with me. And he was like, oh my gosh, no, it's not that, blah, blah, blah. And we were on the phone. And I remember sitting on the couch going, I didn't know what to do because that would have been a knockout, drag down fight.
Hmm.
And just changing one thing of like, hey, is this fact checking?
Yeah.
I had told people to do this in coaching, but I hadn't tried it in the vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
And when I fact checked it, the guy cannot lie.
No.
To his
No. That's
chagrin, it kills me.
you're like, just
I'm like,
lie
can
and
you
tell me the
lie
dress looks good.
sometimes?
Yeah.
He can't. He was like, I
Yeah.
don't, what, it doesn't though, hon. That looks horrible on you. I'm like, but so that meant I
Yeah.
knew if he said something, I could believe it, which I think I needed deep in my soul.
That's a key thing, though, to what you just said, especially for those with communication. And I think sometimes connectedness, maybe I don't know
Yeah,
about
that's
others,
in my top 10.
is this idea of how do I make sure I fact check my stories? Communication
Yes.
isn't just about speaking, it's about we often see the world in a narrative setting. The setting, there's characters, there's an arc. There are characters that started a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. This happened, this occurred, they fought this thing, and they lived happily ever after. And we're doing that constantly in all of our interactions
Yeah.
without ever asking people if that's a story they want to be in, if that's a story they are in, if that's really the story they're telling me. And so getting people learning, I think, as we mature, even with clients in relationships, to fact check our story, to at least go
Oh.
real quick, is this really the story? Is important.
And it sounds great and easy until you're in that vulnerable moment when it's like that core fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can do hard things, right? Like it's so important because my life is a TV show and I'm the main character 90% of the time. Like I see
Right.
things in narratives.
Right.
So yeah, that was a game changer and why
Stories.
I'm
It's the
so mean
stories.
to, well, I mean, people have said of my coaching, this was years ago, and I laughed and I still think it's true. They're like, you're not very nice, but you're kind. I kind of feel like you punched me in the face and hugged me all at once. But I'm like, I know what the other side of freedom feels like, and you are
Right.
coming with me through hell or high water.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
You can do this. You can do way more than you think. Because if I can do it as scared as I was in another country by myself, because I remember telling my friend, like, what if I get divorced? What am I going to do? Did I? She's like, you realize there's planes in New Zealand, right? I'm like, I did not realize that. Like, I legitimately was like, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And so the minute I could
The
go,
story.
oh, yeah, change the
Yeah.
story.
But it's even beyond that, especially we all tell stories, not just people with communication. And
Yeah,
what is really interesting, and I want to start to pivot towards clients, what's really
yeah.
interesting is when we start to realize that we all have a commitment to the story we tell ourselves. Is that the way we show up is that I will build a story in my head of who you are, Dana, and I will begin to react to you. And the more I get committed to and invested in and make start making choices in my life about that story, I actually now need that story to be true so I can not be wrong in what I'm doing. So now I don't even want to reframe it. I don't want to give you the opportunity to clarify the story. I double down on my story because now I've made investments, I've made decisions, I'm cutting things off. Because I'm committed to the story I'm telling myself. And so therefore, I'm not even doing what you're doing with your husband. I'm not even asking, hey, the story I'm telling myself is because I'm too invested. If we would just start with the story check, it would change everything.
Oh, well, one of the things I say, and if any of my clients are watching this, or even our clients, because I think we do this
Yeah.
well, is you cannot manage yourself until you know yourself. You can't. So you have to slow down. If you don't do anything else in my coaching, learn to slow down because, and here's where me and you're going to laugh. There's research somewhere, I can't tell you where it is, but
Right.
there's research somewhere that is if you just slow down and you notice it instead of react to it, you will have better outcomes and performance. And so I think it's that going, oh, I'm not changing my mind. I'm committed to the story.
Yeah.
But at least knowing that, then you have to make a decision based in that. And so I think when I work with clients, yeah, I have all the fancy tools and I have all the different things that we use, and we have lots of great frameworks that we got out of your brain that you had that you didn't even know you had. But really, it's slowing them down and going, yeah, this is how you acted. That doesn't match what you told me, or this doesn't match that. But it really is the art. I wrote an article, The Art of Slowing Down.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the
Mm-hmm.
key to performance. And it was true in my life. So again, my life becomes the template. I'm only as How you said it, you only lead as healthy as you
As
are.
you are. Yep.
Yeah.
When in 12 years of coaching, I'll be interested to get your perspective on something that I'm starting to focus in on. As we've been talking in the last few weeks, I want to really give people a handhold of like why they should why they should reach out for the type of tools we're using. And, and you almost need to start with small places. And one of the things I'm discovering is how much pain, suffering, uncertainty comes from a simple lack of clarity and an inability to know what to do next to make a decision. So ambiguity and decision making, either one of those in 12 years, when you think about the clients you deal with, is there a pattern? Maybe today that was different than before. Is there a pattern in the ways people get in their own way when it comes to making actual decisions?
Yes. I think, again, my activator might cloud this a little bit, is they don't act. They don't try anything, whether it's a mental thing or it's a physical thing or a change. So I think there is some of that, but I think the pattern is more, it's the why, right? It's why are you doing what you're doing? And so a lot of people don't know why they're reacting, not responding. And I just said to someone today, it was my girlfriend group. I said, I can't believe I do the work I do because a lot of this comes out in the professional setting. And so we work with professional
Mm-hmm.
people at all different places, at all different stages, like and ages. But it's in these sacred moments at work where they're showing up acting like an a-hole. And I can go, oof, you're doing that. That sucks. And that's not fun to be around, but they actually do want to come to coaching. They're not,
Mm-hmm.
if they actually want to be
Sure.
there and they want to get better, it's coming out at work because of something. And if we can get
Yeah.
them to the what, why are you doing that? Because that's not who you want to be.
Yeah.
So I think there's a sacred thing that happens in the professional setting. We spend more time there than anywhere else. Even if you're like you had
Yep.
your baseball player and you had a
Yes.
golfer on here, even that they're doing that more
Yep.
than anything else. And so I think if they you get one shot at this life, right? So I want to impact people in this world, but in general, you get one shot. Clarity coming to us and going, hey, we see you and you're not broken.
Mhm.
You're acting broken. The outcomes are broken, but you're actually not broken. You just don't have the right mirror. You're looking at a funhouse mirror.
When you think about, because I was thinking about this though, do you find that as clients are getting older versus clients we would see when we were younger, I'm finding they're having a harder and harder time giving themselves permission to craft their own why. Like it's getting
Oh,
more difficult. Like, well, this is the wrong thing to do, or this is the responsible thing to do, or what will people think, or if I went back to school at
yeah.
40, what would that be? I think you're dead on in some ways that like a big challenge in making decisions is one starting with why should I even be considering the question? The problem is though, it's even step back that they don't feel like they have permission to craft their own why.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense because you have more responsibility, right? Like some of my young leaders are amazing. They're kick-ass leaders, really great, but also they have less responsibilities than some of my
Mhm.
50 something that are showing up acting like not the way they should act in professional settings. They have a few less responsibilities. Doesn't mean they're a lesser leader, but they don't have massive mortgages or paychecks of their team on the
Mhm.
weight of their shoulders or the product, the economy, like all these outside sources. So I think the weight of that is hard, but also I think we don't give ourselves permission because they don't take the time to even go, oh,
Mhm.
what do I want my life to look like? I don't know. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think yes. That's so weird to
Because
say. Yeah, I agree.
when I think about trying to navigate, you're gonna have to still now when if the maps aren't any good, all you have is you.
Yeah.
Right? All you have is you on the inside. And so if you don't trust that what is in you is worthy of deciding why. If you don't trust that the tools you have inside of you will be enough to navigate the moment, if you believe that your compass is so bent that it just can't possibly find a straight direction of any kind, I would have to believe that you feel hopeless and stuck.
Well, and that's why people end up in coaching, I'm finding. Their boss sometimes made them come, but they're like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm stuck. Or
Yeah,
or I end up, with a friend of a friend in a stuck spot
yeah,
because they don't trust. And the funny thing is, I don't know if you noticed this in coaching, but what I've noticed a lot this last year, so 6, 8 months, the thing that people are the most afraid of are the thing they're actually amazing at. So they're trying to figure out a million different like worst case scenarios. What am I going to do if this, and this? But they're actually brilliant at problem solving in quick
yeah,
succession. But I'm finding that in a lot of things, the person that's afraid to be a jerk at work actually is really great with people. So it's like the thing they're afraid of being is the very thing they're
yeah.
actually naturally talented. So they're wasting all this
100%.
brain space. Or I say like New Zealand, they show up to not lose when they play a game, which does not make sense. It breaks my American brain. So they show up literally on the TV one time during a
You're
soccer
gonna get
World Cup.
canceled now. People are like, "Oh, we don't do that in New Zealand."
Yes, we do. We all know we do because you listen to this story. We were at a football World Cup, and on the TV, numerous times they said, "We just have to not lose this game." I was like, what? Why would you not win? But that's kind of how we approach life. I don't want to be a jerk at work. I don't want to like not know the problem. Instead of, I'm a great problem
Yeah,
solver. I'm good with people. And so I think that's what I'm noticed. And maybe it's the chaos of the world or us believing the world is in chaos, but I definitely notice we're not trusting ourselves
mm,
and our fears are bumping into each other.
yeah,
Maybe our boss has a fear and we're taking it on. Maybe our kids, our spouse, our coworkers, whatever. But but if you knew yourself and you knew,
yeah,
and Clifton gives you language to like, hey, here's your natural
yeah.
thoughts, right?
But what's funny is that I often tell people, and I haven't talked about this in a long time. I tell people all the time that your Clifton Strengths themes are also a roadmap to your fears, which oddly enough are almost the thing you should never be afraid of, right?
Right.
So activators
Yes.
are, if activator is dominant for you, our greatest fear is, oh my gosh, a missed opportunity will be gone forever. A developer's greatest fear is, oh my gosh, I'm just not growing enough. Well, I'm like, people who aren't growing never worry about not growing enough, right? Communication, oh my gosh, I'm just so misunderstood. People who are misunderstood don't care whether or not anybody understands them, right?
No.
And it's strategic as a Clifton Strengths theme. People with strategic are obsessed with missing the turn. And I'm like, hey, people who miss turns have never thought about missing turns. And so it's always the thing. There's that great movie About Time where he says, the thing I've learned is that the thing that is dangerous is the thing that has never crossed your loving mind, right? And that's really true when it comes to Clifton Strengths themes. If people are navigating, we will double down and get obsessed about using the tools our brain has, which is our top five, and then that becomes the answer, not realizing we actually should relax on all those things. You and
Yeah.
I, of all people, we should be worried about missing the analytical research planning part. We don't have to worry about whether or
Yeah.
not we can speak on a stage or tell a story. We need to go, oh my gosh, there's some detail on some piece of taxes that didn't get filed right, and that's going to bite us, not whether or not we sold the thing well enough to keep the business going. You know what I'm saying? But people, I
Yeah.
feel like, and
Well,
so for listeners, that's the big thing is that like noticing you're worrying about the wrong things. You're worrying about
yeah.
it because it's in your strengths, not because it's actually something to be worried about.
Well, our top five strengths are our top five weaknesses,
Mhm.
right? You said that years ago, and
They're all
it
the same.
helps people. And I know that strengths theory is focus on what you do well, but understanding that these things are actually going to get in your way if you're not in control of them. So Danny, one of my colleagues here I worked with in New Zealand, she was like, it's kind of like the Inside Out movie. I was like, what? And she was like, if you know the Inside Out movie, your
Yeah,
strengths, in the movie, their emotions are personified and they're at the control panel going crazy. And
yeah,
she was like, one of them is going crazy. And sometimes you need to be like, hey, activator, we're gonna put you over here. We're gonna give you a
yeah.
rest. I know you don't want to, but developer needs to come to the table. Right. So it's knowing how to grab them, but that's clarity, right? To your
Mhm.
point a minute ago.
Mhm.
if you know the tools, you can use them, because I can tell you, only I knew my strengths when life was so hard here. And I just kept going back to like, okay, I know I am. I know what I'm good at. I'll figure it out. Right. And
Yeah.
so, and clients are screaming for that because often their boss is telling them, do this like this way, or
Yeah.
you're not good enough. And that's your paycheck goes, or you don't get the promotion. Like there's metrics involved.
Yeah.
So you have to take the metrics they have to use and then help them meet those, but not do it in fear. Right? I think we're way more afraid than we want to admit.
Yes, I think we are. And I think we're afraid that we're locking ourselves into something we can't get out of because we forgot there's airplanes in New Zealand.
Yeah. And all of
Right?
this happens, right? Like you're brain, the thing you're afraid of is the thing that you're actually brilliantly, exceptionally
Yeah.
talented to do, but you're not
Yeah.
backing yourself.
Yeah.
And so I do the work not because anybody sees, like, I mean, nobody, I don't have a podcast, I don't have anything. I'm just like, I mean, I used to work in a closet, like legit a closet for years, and then I got a room when we moved. But I don't want to impress you with me, I want to impress you with you. So when you sit in front of me, I'm going to either tell you what is true about you because of science.
Mhm.
I'm going to give you a framework so you don't need a coach, because we talk about that a lot in our
Yeah.
business. We don't
Yeah.
want them to need us. If they need us,
Yeah.
we've done
We
it
don't want to be your
wrong.
guru. We don't want to be your guru.
Yeah. And so I think the biggest thing, I mean, is slowing them down, helping them see you have some fear in there.
Yeah.
It's controlling you. That's one of my favorite questions. Like, how do you like being controlled by that? I'm not controlled by that. And then I slow it down. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Because we end up in we end up in personal spaces, but a lot of times it's professional spaces, like you said before,
Yeah.
executives and accountants and CEOs or COOs or whatever it is. We end up there a lot. And ultimately, people think it's tactical. They think they're coming to coaching to figure out how to do a thing, how to
Yeah.
get their boss to be less annoying, how to ask for the hard raise, how to whatever. How often do you find that that is literally just symptoms of something else?
99% of the time. And I had to trust my coaching technique, which was no technique, who was listening, because all those other things they can figure out if they addressed that other thing, right? The why, what do you think you should do?
Yeah,
When did you do that, have that problem and solve it good? But I think I said to you one time, you wanted to give me someone to coach, and I was like, I can't coach them, and I freaked out on you, and you were like, what is happening right now? And then you said, why? And I'm like, they make a lot of money, and you were like, what? That doesn't even compute because you actually are doing different. Like
yeah.
what?
The
And
funny
when we
part was
unpacked
I had
it,
already given you a client who actually was making more money than the client that I was referring you to, but you just didn't know
totally.
it.
And of course, because we're not going to share,
No.
details, you could have told me that time, and I was like, what? I'm coaching millionaires? I didn't know that. But it was weird, like that was my issue. But also, you were like, that has nothing to do. People are people. There's nothing new under the sun. And
Yeah.
this is what's wild to me is that one of my friends, Abby, said one day she got on our friend chat and she goes, people were peopling all over the place at my workplace. And I was like, that is the most relatable line to anyone. And my husband says, I don't really get what you do, again, because he can't lie. I don't really get what you do, but all I know is people are hot messes and you have job security. It's like, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, yes, we're in professional settings, but usually that's why I use other tools. I don't care what tool they use, I'll use
Yeah.
whatever, but we're going to look at why you're doing what you're doing. And if you don't want to do that, don't coach with me. Go to someone else and do prescriptive stuff and check your boxes. That's not bad, but that's not my style. I would be horrible at that for you.
When you look at your dominant five, which three do you feel like stand out to you the most as a coach? And is that different than the three that stand out as a mother as a wife, as a woman? Is there is it a
It's
shifting three, or do they feel pretty stable?
a little bit. Communication developer are always there, right? Activator is there. I would say, weirdly enough, my top three are my dominant three, which doesn't often
Okay.
happen,
Yeah.
which I don't know that people know that about
Yeah.
strengths.
They're not really in order.
Um, yeah, they're not really in order, but I think activator can also get me in trouble because I can go really fast to coach someone
Yeah.
instead of slow down, right? Because I just said, which the irony is, the thing in my coaching is you've got to learn to slow down, and I'm the least slow person. Like I'm the one at the like light that's going forward. I'm hitting the crosswalk button, right?
Right.
But so activator sometimes is great because I can jump into a situation, even though I was so afraid. You gave me people that I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I could do this. Sure, I can figure out. I don't
Yeah.
know what they do. I still don't know understand what hedge accounting is, but like I can jump in there. But I think positivity is the other thing that comes out a lot because I want to tell you what I see, and I can tell you it's not my gut because I've just watched your patterns. I've watched what you said. So it takes away that element that we talked about at the beginning. Like I go by my gut, but my analytical people are like, where do you learn that? I'm like, well, let me tell you. Here's the data. You just told me the story. Boom, 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 boom. And research would say because. So I do, but my positivity gets to come out in that and tell you, you are great. Stop acting like you're not. Yep, you're stuck. Cool. You can do hard things. You have, you can, and you will. Get over yourself and get up and do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes they like it, sometimes they hate me. I've got
Sometimes they
hung up
don't.
on once, but
I've not got hung up on once. I've been
oh,
yelled at in rooms in front of groups before. Like they're like, you get it, but never hung up on. I guess Dana, just as we kind of bring this in for landing, but thinking about this, if you and I, with our communication themes, often see the path we're on as a story, if you had to go back 15 years, and much like you're describing a great book or a movie to a friend, and why
mm,
they should really want to sign up for, what story would you describe to yourself 15 years ago, knowing that you would go from there to here?
oof. I would give that young married mom a hug. Like, it's gonna work out. You're gonna be shocked at what's coming. But all this stuff that no one sees,
Mhm.
all the work that you're doing in the quiet is actually the thing that matters. Um, because I think what I didn't do, and I came to New Zealand under really weird circumstances. I mean, yes, I was married and we weren't pregnant yet, but I had a particular leader say to me, um, I wasn't allowed back in his organization. I ruined his organization. I came back believing lies about myself. And my analytical husband said to me, I'm so frustrated. You don't even like this guy and you're believing him over me. And that was a pivotal moment. I still believed it and had to work through like years of it. But what I would have told myself is back yourself. Like trust yourself. And I think the story I would tell myself is, or the story I would tell is like that's that like great moment in a movie or TV show where everything has fallen apart. I lost everything that I knew. And we had no money on top of it. So I couldn't even go get a Diet Coke or a coffee. It was horrible. And tell me you have food issues without telling me you have food issues. Like my treats were that.
Exactly.
But I think the story is like all of these things that you're doing is important. Like
Mhm.
do the things when no one's looking, do the hard things, do the things that get the clarity, understand yourself and find your footing without anyone else. And then if I jump forward to now, like why do I think people would benefit from friendships like this or coaching like this or being a leader like this is because you can lead people to a free space, a space that they have freedom and they actually can design the life they want to live in.
Yeah. I love I love the narrative piece that you bring to it, because I've experienced you as a coach for a long time now, and I watch what you've done with our clients, and this gift to really help people decide, one, what story they're in and what story they want to be in. That it just brings to mind that quote that says, if you find yourself in a story that hasn't ended well, it's just a story that hasn't ended yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this ability to keep going. And you do that with such conviction that people literally borrow your belief until they find their own. Is that you'll tell them in so many different ways and so many different ways that I hear clients repeatedly going, oh yeah. She makes it clear that there's something else coming, that actually the situation I'm in is not the end of the situation. And I think that's such a gift that you bring with your themes and the way you show up as a professional, but also as a person and as a partner and a mom. It's a real gift to us. So yeah, thanks for letting us dive in your brain that way.
Is that alone took me years to figure out I'm not like other people and like other coaches. Like that was enough. Because one of the pivotal people, I have 5 pivotal people in my life that I'm like, when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, that. Like, it's you, our friend Jeremy, who taught me, who trained me in strength, certified me. Eric, who I was working for, one of the guys that worked at Gallup, and then Janice, my best boss ever, who believed in me, saw she had maximized it. So she saw me at my greatness, not at my hot messness, and treated me like I was great. And I was like, who are you looking at? Because I cry all the time in this workplace. But Eric, one of those 5, said to me, we were in an organization where everybody did things great. We were in LA, and so everybody was like in the industry or doing something fantastic. And that was not me at all. And I couldn't find the thing I was great at. And I was working for him, just doing admin. Again, joke of all jokes. But he goes, everyone here is just so talented and great at something. You aren't. And I was like, huh? But he was so kind. I knew I should stay there and not shut down. And I was like, okay. And he goes, you're great at helping other people see what they're great at. So you're not great at anything, but you're actually great at helping other people be great at everything. Still, I was like, I'm not sure that's a compliment. But I look at now, that little yet, you haven't figured out what you're doing yet. I never thought you could get paid to do this stuff. This is ridiculous to me. What? I forget I get a paycheck, right? Some days. I mean, some days I like money, don't get me wrong. But I think going, oh, I'm different. I'm not going to look like you, even though we have 4 of the same strengths. I'm not going to look like this coach or that coach, and just be like, hey, my gift is this. But that took a lot of work that no one would have seen.
Yeah.
And I think
that's the good way to land though too, is that phrase of the deep belief of yet. It's a story that hasn't ended yet. It's a thing I haven't discovered yet, because yet gives us the open-ended possibility of tomorrow and of discovering a new thing. It's not your forever.
One of the things a mentor said that to me when I was in a bad place. She said, this is not your forever. Because if it was, you'd be dead, right? And that was the way I used yet until I had that language of yet is, oh, this isn't your forever. So yeah, cry, pick up yourself. And men or women, I find men are way more emotional in my coachings than their bosses would know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Right. But yeah, Dana, it's yet.
Dana, thanks so much. This won't be the last time we'll talk again some more on these things. If you're following along at home and you think about these things, we've talked about how influencing themes and relating themes are truly, you need to start navigating your life by letting yourself get healthy, starting there, and then see yourself as a story that's not finished, no matter where it is, and ask yourself what story you want to be in. If this has stirred something up for you, we would love to help you in some way. In the description, you're going to find some links to one of the things we call we call it like a clarity compass. It's 5 questions to ask yourself if your life's on track. So also this thing called navigation brief, where you basically send us your top 5, and it's kind of like Cameo, but better. Send us your top 5 and I'll send you a live video. It won't be a birthday greeting for your friend, but it will actually be an answer to some question you have. Honestly, too, we would love if you would like, share, 5-star the podcast, all those things, because it just helps us reach more people. So that's a lot of what we do, and you could really help us out that way. But Dana, thanks again for being here. Appreciate it. You guys, see you next time.